Hey, what's up, y'all? It's your girl, No Mercy here. It's Tuesday night, so you already know what time it is. It's time for No Punches Pulled with me, No Mercy. Some of you know who I am. If I have any newbies out there, my name is Brooke Millbrook, formerly known in the fight business as Brooke No Mercy Dierdorff. I am a retired professional boxer, held the WBC lightweight title until I retired, and I was inducted into the International Women's Boxing Hall of Fame in 2022. I personally have been through some good, some bad, and of course, a lot of BS in the sport of women's boxing, but this is my platform. This is where we talk the talk and we walk the walk. We're going to bring out the truth in women's boxing. You're going to hear from pioneers of the sport, past boxers, current boxers. We'll even have some future boxers on. We're going to get down and dirty, though, speaking the truth of what takes place behind the scenes in women's boxing. So you don't want to miss a single show. So please make sure you like, subscribe, and you're sharing this so we can get some more people in here and get them educated on the history of women's boxing. Tonight, though, I am sitting down with renowned retired professional boxer Sharon Wild Thing Anyos. During her career, she fearlessly pursued fights with top-ranked opponents, regardless of location or the odds stacked against her. She fought all over the world, including England, the US, and Japan. She held multiple titles, including the first ever WBC World Female Featherweight title in 2005, and it was awarded the WBC Emeritus title in 2007. She shared the ring with the best of the best, such as Jane Couch, Joe Wyman, Emiko Rakia, Lisa Brown, Marcella Acuna, and Esther Schouten, just to name a few. She retired with a very impressive record of 14-3. She was the first woman to receive an award from the Australian National Boxing Federation. She received an Outstanding Achievement Award and was named First Lady of Australian Boxing. She was awarded the Australian Fighter of the Year also in 2001. She was recently inducted into the International Women's Boxing Hall of Fame in 2020. Please help me welcome Sharon Anyos to the show. What's
Hello.
going on, champ? How are you?
Incredible introduction that was. Thank you so much.
It's all true. It's all facts. 100% facts. You
Yeah, I
earned it.
feel like I'm a long line from there to where I am now. It's been a big life change.
Oh, don't we all? Don't we all? Life happens. It happens. I appreciate you taking the time to join me, though, especially with the time difference. We finally got that settled from Australia to the U.S. and we got that going. It was quite humorous trying to figure that out. I was finally like asking Eric, my guy in the background, hey, how do I tell her what time it is? And he's like, just follow the countdown. I'm like, all right, that's a good idea.
Yeah,
Um,
perfect.
but yeah, it's great to sit down with you, talk about your legendary career. Um, but it's just exciting. But why don't you first take us back? Tell us a little bit about your childhood and what led you to the sport of boxing.
Oh, that's a great question. Before I do, I just want to say to anyone out there, when Brooke first started talking about putting this together, I was like, yeah, I'll jump on. She's like, and she said to me, you want to get in quick? I think I left it maybe 2 or 3 days before I got back to her, and it was booked out until July. So anyone that's listening into this, she's doing an incredible job, and she's bringing a lot of real, raw, and I guess all the truth. There's
Yeah.
great things about boxing. There's crap things about boxing. There's just incredible experiences. There's so much about it. So well done, and thank you so much for placing me in
Yeah,
the
I
light.
really appreciate that. It's so funny because talking to the team in the back, and I don't, it wasn't very long in. Like right after I booked you, I was out to like July or something. But I'm all the way till like the middle of next year now. So we've got a lot of great interviews coming. I've been working hard trying to book people, but yeah,
That's
it's just great the feedback I get, and you'd be surprised how many people I reach out to that obviously we've never met or had spoken prior to, but they're like, I don't normally do that kind of stuff, like the podcast and stuff, but I will for you. And I'm like, really? Like that means a lot to me. So yeah, it's great to have you here. We finally got the date and it's here. I'm
Oh, that's
excited to
awesome.
hear.
Thank you. So, okay, so if I go back, I grew up in a small country town. Well, we traveled a lot when I was a baby, but like I don't remember. I've got three older brothers, Richard, Daniel, and Richard, Brian, and Daniel. I think they were my first lessons on how to punch on real quick. When you're the younger sister
Yeah.
and the only sister, yeah, I started learning how to become cunning when it come to getting back either my teddy bears or anything that belonged to me. They wanted to toss around between them, and there was lots of teasing and lots of sibling rivalry.
Yeah.
Um, but I remember sitting down doing my homework at the table one night, and I would have been 13. And my dad was just saying to me, like, you've got to get this, you've got to get this, and you've got to get this done. And I'm like, I really don't need to. And he's like, and why not? And I said, well, I don't need this information. I don't need Pythagoras theorem to count money. Like, I don't need that. And he's like, oh, we're counting money. And he goes, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said, I just want to be the champion of the world. I had no idea what platform. I had been a karate, like I started karate when I was about 6. Um, so it wasn't about was I going to be a karate champion of the world. It's just like I just wanted to be a champion of the world. I just wanted to be an example. I wanted to I knew back then that I was here for a purpose, and I wanted to make a difference to many, many, many women.
Yeah.
Right. And back then when I was 13, it was making a difference to girls. Just
Right.
letting girls, we're kind of stuck in a box, like, school, work, like we're stuck in a box. So for a girl, even now, like I hear people like, I could never watch a girl fight. Like I just I just don't understand why we have to be stuck in such a box of this is what you meant to do. And I keep saying to my parents, I honestly take it back to when I was really young and I had ballerina wallpaper all over my room. I was never going to be the ballerina.
Yeah.
I had three brothers. If I had three sisters, maybe. Three brothers, I was like BMX bikes, I was like black jeans, I was like, let's go, who's playing cricket? So yeah, I grew up very, very different.
Yeah. I had two older brothers too, so I know exactly what you're talking about. I had no sisters.
Absolutely. I will say everything that's going on in the world right now, even though as much as I loved being a tomboy when I was younger, if somebody had suggested something crazy like gender reassignment, I probably would have thought about it then. But oh my gosh, when I got to being a woman, I'm like, I'm so glad I didn't know any of that. So
Yeah.
totally off topic, but yeah, it's crazy what's happening in the world now compared to what we had.
Yes.
And I guess I'm really grateful that I got to experience life as a tomboy, but then I could dress up and be a girl when I wanted to, and then I could turn into a lady when I
Yeah.
was ready. So it was amazing.
Yeah. I mean,
So
it's just that's just when you grow up with only brothers and especially older brothers, that's all you see, that's all you're around is like the sports and the roughness, and you want to just play with your siblings. So that's just what it is. But that, like you said, it doesn't mean just because you were a tomboy and you did boy things because you had brothers that you can't just still be a girl or a lady or polite or dress up and look nice and then box too. Like it's just like it's just two different worlds, two different personalities, but all in one.
yeah, I love how you just said that, Brooke, because that's how it always felt. Like I would turn up to Wayne's and I'd be in lingerie and I would have my hair and makeup done. I'd turn up in a skirt with high heels and I would look amazing and I would strip down. And then I just remember so many women just looking at me thinking, oh, they're just thinking and they're actually saying, I'm going to knock you out. Like
Yeah,
you're just too easy. And then
yeah,
you would get in the ring and you just got you're like this tiger, like this lion. And
yeah,
you become completely different.
yeah, totally different. And yeah, people just don't understand that. Yeah, and that's the persona back then. Even like back when it first started, was a lot of times they would say that they looked too feminine, and now it's like we don't look feminine enough.
Yeah.
So it's like, make up your mind. Which way do you want it to be? Do you want us to look feminine or you don't want us to look feminine? But then there is those that do come out and look extremely feminine and they're just doing it for show and they actually can't fight. But those of us that
Yeah.
we can look nice all the way up till it's time to get in the ring. But then, we get our hair braided or whatever the case may be, and then we look totally different. But
Yeah. Same.
That's how it is.
And it's like I used to think so. Right early on, I did karate from the age of 6. Now I went into full contact karate. Like I was winning tournaments right throughout my childhood, and like as a black belt. And then I went into full contact karate. And back then it was like like feet pads and hand pads. That was kind of more of your full contact. I did Kashiki karate. I know. So the pads is when kickboxing came into Australia. So I dabbled into the start of light contact kickboxing, and then become full contact, then become Muay Thai. I literally ran out of, even from karate, if I would sign into the division, 30 women would pull out and say they're not going to fight because I was obviously going to win. So I then, or maybe should I go against the men? And then it ended up being me and my 3 brothers fighting off for first, second, and third, right?
Yeah.
And then it was like, what's next? Where do I go? Where do I progress to? Because one of the things I want to talk about as well that's really important is sometimes when it's finishing one thing, we kind of feel like that's our identity, and then we feel like we're losing our identity, and then how to kind of deal with that. So that's something I want to bring up after. But then I just kind of progressed to touch contact kickboxing, then full contact, then Muay Thai. So I literally fought every code there was before I even started boxing. I was in the boxing gym. I had Joe Bugner, the boxing famous heavyweight world champion who'd gone the distance with Muhammad Ali twice. Hungarian, our background is Hungarian as well. My dad's Hungarian. We're in the boxing gym. I meant to get on a plane. We've got media in there. We're training. I meant to be on a plane like within 2 days, heading to Japan to fight for a Muay Thai world title. And then Dad gets a phone call from the promoter saying, you know, we're not going to take the fight. The girl's retired. And Dad's like, we'll just find someone else and we'll be on the plane. We'll be there and just find someone else. He goes, no, you don't understand. The girl has retired only until Sharon steps away from Muay Thai, and then she'll come back out again. And we're not going to promote Sharon because we want to promote our girls. And I'm like, Dad's like got all the media is in the gym. He goes up to Joe and he goes, God, they pull the fight. What am I going to do? The whole gym is full. And he said, well, put her on my and keep her feet on the ground. And he goes, no, she never listens to people. We can try. That was literally my introduction into boxing. I had another, I think, 4 or 6 weeks to prepare. And then I went and fought the Australian title in boxing like really quickly. That was my introduction. I just kept running out of the phone.
Yeah, you just could nobody want to fight you, so we'll just go to the next one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, whatever works. So as long as you can get somebody to sign the paper, it didn't really matter at that point which sport you were fighting. You knew them all.
No, that's right. So I've gone from one fighting code to the next. I've kind of progressed all my way through to boxing, and like I've even after I started having children, people saying to me about UFC and the money in UFC, and I respect all athletes and I respect all people that climb through especially when you're climbing through the ropes. It doesn't matter whether it's cage fighting or through the ropes.
Yeah.
But I can't get this thing of, I remember coming out of a nightclub when I was like 18, and I remember these guys like this guy was beating up another guy, and I just remember hearing like knuckle on bone, and I remember hearing his head hit the concrete. And I'm like, and the guy was like helpless. I was on top of him, and I'm like, we've got people end up pulling him off him. But I'm like, when I kind of look at UFC, it takes me back subconsciously to that moment of someone being on the ground and not being able to protect themselves. And I know UFC is completely different, but I'm like, I'm not sure if I could step through that subconscious memory of how horrible that sounded and what I felt. So it's not that I don't love it, but I kind of stopped. Boxing was kind of my last one.
Yeah. Like the final straw where you couldn't go past that level. I got you. Yeah, you never forgot the sound of that, Michael. Yeah, that'd be hard to do. But once you started boxing, very similar to my career, and you started fighting right to the top ranked fighters right off the bat. You faced veteran Jane Couch, who was 10-2 at the time, in just your 4th fight in London. Very similar to my 4th fight when I fought Mia St. John for the first time, who was like 40 something, and I don't even know, but she had over 50 fights and I had 4. So very similar pass. I love that about you. Just went straight to the top. But though you did lose the decision, it was a close fight, and you did receive the Outstanding Achievement Award for the fight with her. Can you tell us about the fight, how you felt it went, and receiving the award so early on in your career?
Yeah, it was I had 3 fights, and they were like 4-round fights, like 4 rounds, 4 rounds, 4 rounds. Like some of them, like I stopped in, like the first fight I had, I stopped in the second round. I remember Dad saying to me, television here. This is on the big Joe Boogner, James Bone Crusher Smith night here on the Gold Coast. And he said, you're on TV here, so whatever you do not knock her out in round 1. Now, I didn't even know inside could I knock her out in round 1. Like, I just looked at her at the weigh-in and thought, oh, you're gone. You like get that. Once the weigh-in, every time it's like the weigh-in, them in front of you, and you're like, oh, I'm like eating you alive, literally.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
You know the feeling, don't you?
Yes, I do.
And then there's the weigh-ins where you're like, oh, this is going to be a tough fight. Like, you just
Yeah.
know the feeling and the energy of the person. So when I got off of Jane Couch, we were just take anything. But I was very adamant that I wanted to fight only the top 5 in the world. Like, I just wanted to make a mark, and I didn't want to waste my time. So when we got off the fight, and it was for like kitten, it was 900 for a world title fight back then.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a lot of money. We said yes. We flew over, and there was so much like, I don't know. There was her saying I'd sent underpants over to her in an envelope. Like, she's green, I was in love with her, and I'm like, that is definitely not who I am. But
Right.
anyway, there was, I remember standing in the middle of a soccer oval. Now in London, there was over 10,000, probably 5, probably 80. It was in the middle of the game, and they opened a poster of her. I was like, I felt like it was things that you want. Even getting it.
Can you do a refresh on your screen? You're cutting in and out a little bit now. Maybe if you just do a quick refresh, that usually fixes it. Bear with us, guys. Usually doing a refresh will fix the connection so she's not lagging. There we go.
How's that? Is that better?
It is better.
Yeah, awesome. So I remember walking out into the ring, and they're telling me I need to have a breast protector, I need to have a groin guard. So they give me 2 foam pads, 1 for each boob, and they give me a man's cup. And I'm like,
oh.
what? And they're like, you have to put in otherwise the fight won't go ahead. And it was already it was sanctioned. So I'd already spoken to the sanctioning body. They said, no, you're fine. So then I said, well, if I've got to put it in, I'm literally going to walk back out of the ring or walk all the way back to the change rooms. It was crazy. It was a tough fight. It was a great fight. Did I think I lost? I definitely didn't think I lost. Over in London, they've got this thing called the Red Army, and it's like this just conglomerate of men. And I got literally like an archway. You know what they do for people's weddings with, I got that with the Red Army walking out the door. They were like, that was an absolute rip-off. You won that. But I learned so much. It was a tough fight, going from 4 rounds to 10 rounds.
Yeah.
Fighting someone when the crowd is on their side. And I just kept thinking, is everything in this to mess with my head? Do you know what I mean? And it's funny because I go back and look at that fight now, and I'm like, if only I sat down in my punches, if only I dropped my body weight, there would have been a whole different story. Yeah. Like when you're so new, you don't even understand where your body's meant to go. You just punch ferociously, don't you?
Yes. Yeah, you do.
So that was me.
Yeah. Well, but you still got the award for it, because you still got the recognition, and clearly, like you said, and it's known that it was a very close fight. But had it been somewhere else, maybe the outcome would have been different.
Yeah, absolutely. And I kind of look at all the fights I had when they were overseas, and thought to myself, if I did win, what would happen to that person in their country? Like, where would they be?
Yeah.
So it's much better for the person in their country to look like to be the world champion than the
Yeah.
person that's to take it away. So I learned a lot from so much of it. It was like how to reassess what's going on. What do I do better next time? You
Yeah.
know, how do I handle different things? So it was literally the most incredible experience I had.
Yeah. Well, and not long after that, in 2000, you beat JoJo Wyman by 10-round decision for the newly created WIBA featherweight title. Tell us a little bit about that fight and what it was like winning the first ever WIBA title.
Well, that became even more amazing than the London fight. Um, I remember all through my career, like I just kept saying I'm fitter, faster, stronger than any other woman out there. And I would only train against men. I would spar against men. Like I ran with men. Everything I did. Obviously, I grew up with three brothers, and I would, you do 10 rounds of sparring, and every 2 rounds I'd get a new guy would be thrown in, right? And they were always told back then it was like, don't take it easy on him, don't take it easy on there. And it's like mentally, I prepared myself to be fitter, faster, stronger. When I look back at some of the training that JoJo Wyman done, like I'm like, oh my god, like I didn't do the strength and conditioning stuff that she did, but the fitness and the road work and the sprint work and the sparring, I trained my ass
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
And it was a bloodbath. It honestly could have gone either way. It
Yeah.
really could have. We both had blood gushing from our face. We were both warriors. It was like, even if I lost that fight, I would have lost it humbly, thinking that was just incredible. Like, I remember when I was first wanting to look at going into boxing, and I'd watch Christy Martin on TV, like on the, under Mike Tyson, and you just watch blood flying everywhere. Like,
Yeah.
tough bitch. Like, she's a
Yeah.
tough bitch.
She's up.
Like just so strong. Like I want to be like that. That's what I want to portray. Like because when you do something and you're passionate about it, you want to do it to the best that you can. So you want fight
Absolutely.
best. You don't
Yeah.
want first round knockouts.
No. No, you want wars. You want to be remembered for wars, for battles.
Yeah, absolutely. So with JoJo Wyman, that's exactly what it was. It was literally a war. It could have been a draw. It could have gone either way. I was just so blessed that in another country, like between the judges, they just saw it my way. But it
Yeah.
was the most fulfilling experience I had. Blood everywhere, black eyes. Like I had kickboxing fights and everything before, and they were tough. But
Yeah.
this was like you got two weapons. That's it. Like you got your left and your right, and it was toe to toe pretty much the whole way.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of those where afterwards, and I can remember, I don't even remember which fight it was now. And a lot of it I think was from headbutts, but like the day or two after the fight, when you wake up and you literally look like you literally got hit by a freaking car, like that's how bruised up your face is and it's all swollen and how sore you are. And you're like, why in the hell did I do this? But then you go sign the next one.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
do it all over again. But yeah, that's like one of those where, yeah, you know it was a war when literally someone's like, were you in a car accident or what happened to your face? I was fighting.
Yeah, it's that funny look you get. I remember when we were over in London and I had Ian Jacobs, like Ian Powerhouse Jacobs. He's got the fastest knockout in kickboxing still to this day, like in 1 point something seconds. But he's a triple world kickboxing champion. But my dad would literally, because my dad was my trainer. Him and I would argue. Like it would be like obviously the pressure and how much we're going through. So 2 weeks out of every fight, he would literally just go and drop me at his place, at his mum's, and say, you take her. Because I'd be like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. And we'd fight, we'd be stressed, and he would just like, you take her. And I was running mountains, and I was doing like so much crazy stuff. When we're in London and they've got the tube, so I've got in there the day after the fight, and I've got black eyes and everything. And it is jam-packed. And it was so funny because I remember seeing on TV that whoever could do the biggest like cooey call, right, anywhere in public and record it, you can put it in on this TV show and you could win money. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to do that. But Ian looked at me and said something, and I just dropped to the ground, just started screaming like, don't hit me again, please don't hit me. The whole, like so many people were like, oh my God, like, and they're like going to grab me, and they're like, no, I'm joking, I'm actually a professional fighter, don't panic,
Yeah.
I'm being silly. But it's funny what looks you get when you're like carrying all your war wounds.
Yeah, it's insane. It's and sometimes it's comical because I mean you can play it whatever way you want. I mean they if they don't know you, they have no idea. They're just assuming the worst. Like, oh my God, I've had people ask me if I was in a like, did I need help? Like, was I in an abusive relationship? No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I did this to myself. Like I self-inflicted this to my face because I got in the ring. So no. But yeah, the looks, all the fun stuff that goes along with it afterwards. But yeah, I've played it. You could definitely play mind games with people with it though. It's kind of fun.
Oh, absolutely.
Um, and but right, let's see. Right after that though, you did receive the Australian Female Fighter of the Year award. That must have been such a great feeling. I know, especially at that time, boxing worldwide was extremely hard for women to get recognition. But then to be like the first Australian female fighter to get that award. Tell us about that experience for you.
Yeah, that was I would say it was mind blowing. It was like, my gosh, someone's really. I know when you're a man, the minute you fight for a world title, like it's all over the newspapers, it's everywhere. And then as a woman, you kind of get. I was probably a little bit luckier, being on the Gold Coast. Like I definitely got some great coverage, but through the Australian papers, like your main papers, it was like a little bit of something somewhere. But a guy would win a world title. It wouldn't matter what label it was. It wouldn't matter what organization, and it would be plastered. So it was like, for me, it was like, my gosh, you're being recognized by male peers in the same sport.
Yeah.
I remember receiving also an award, like a certificate of acknowledgement from our mayor as well. And I was like, and he was a runner. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like the mayor, like how amazing. Like, so
Yeah.
those moments, I think for me, it's like it's not really always to me about the awards, but just to have that recognition just makes me feel like I'm moving the right step, and people are starting to notice, and we're starting to make a bit of a whirlwind here. And you know what it's like back in those days. Like we've been retired for a while, but you know what it's like really paving the way, and feel like swimming upstream like all the time.
Absolutely. Yeah. Definitely tough. And I mean, it's way better today. It's still there, but nothing like what we went through or the generations before us. Nothing like it. Two totally different worlds from today to the past. But yeah, I mean, just the right, like you said, the recognition is really what it's all about. The belts, the awards, like all that stuff is nice, and it looks nice and all that. But yeah, just getting the recognition from people, like you said, even just being put in the paper, in like the main news or any of that stuff. That's when you really know that you're making a mark and you're making steps forward for the sport.
Yeah. One of the other things I really understood as well, that if it wasn't one of the top 3 or 4, like if it wasn't WBC, WBA, IBF, it was like IBO, it was like you weren't really a world champion. Yeah. That was like, then you've got to strive for something else. Right now, what do I do? Especially when back then, none of those organizations were really ranking women at all.
They weren't even really allowing women to fight for the belts.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. It was like, how do you become recognized by everyone when you can't even get there? Because it was not something they took on board.
Yeah, exactly. Baby steps. And I mean, now look, I mean, we never even had the chance to fight for undisputed. There wasn't even such a thing in women's boxing until like last year. Was it last year, the year before, when they first started doing that? Now everybody's undisputed. We couldn't even dream of having barely two world titles, let alone all of them.
I know when I fought Jojo Wyman, when I was stepping in the ring, it was meant to be for 3 world titles. So it was meant to be for 3 world titles when we stepped in. It was meant to be a triple world title fight. And it was like one of the first that you've heard of, like you would hear of.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But men could get it. The money, my God, the money. Yeah. So a guy who's like straw weight would make $250, $300, $400,000 for a fight, and we would be lucky to get $2,000, $3,000. Ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it before, and I probably like every freaking show when we talk about the money. $4,000 is the most I ever made, and that was for my WBC title fight in Mexico against Mia St. John. That was my biggest payday.
Holy cow!
Uh,
So I
from
days that were televised, like, and I was told, oh, you're going to get $20,000, you'll get $10,000, and then after the fights happened, oh, I didn't have as many people as we thought we would. Here's five. Like, obviously now you couldn't do that because everything's signed by contract, but oh my goodness, the amount of times, or we didn't have the amount of people, so instead of 20, we can't really give you anything, so you're fighting for nothing. And I'm like, yeah, it's crazy. So
yeah.
when people say, did you fight for the money, you must be so rich from boxing. I'm like,
Why? Yeah.
no,
Why would you even ask that question? Nobody back then fought for the money because we didn't get any money. And like I tell people, and it makes me so mad when people say that. And I'm like, look, for my title fight, the WBC, that's the most. I mean, now it even then is the most recognized title that you could have. That's like the one everybody wants is the green belts. That's it. So when I fought for that, and granted, I was the opponent coming in. She wanted to avenge the loss. She wanted to fight in Mexico. She was very tight with the WBC. I mean, it wasn't a secret. So I have no idea what she made. I'm way, way, way the hell more than I made. But
yeah,
still, 4K, even as a challenger, is ridiculous. I mean, that's ridiculous. That same title, a guy will get $40 million.
oh, absolutely.
So I tell people, I said, and then you also got to think $4,000. Okay, that's what I got. But I had to go to Mexico. You gotta travel to Mexico. I have to travel there. For that fight, I had to be there for a whole week because I had to do boxing is so big in Mexico. Like it's life over there. So you had to do like the pre-fight workouts. You had to do the public workouts. You had to do 50 different live interviews. You had to do all these different things. We had to do a public pre-weigh-in. Like there was shit I had never even heard of that we had to do over there. But I was there for a whole week. And I'm like, so then you have to take off work for a week. So you lose a week of pay. So now deduct that from your 4,000 that you got. And then the expenses that they don't cover while you're there for a whole week, take that out. You really don't make anything. Like literally you don't make anything by the time you cover your time off and all the stuff that you got. So I'm like, literally it's not even remotely the same, but that was life back then.
Absolutely it was. Absolutely.
Yeah. But shortly after that though, and we talked about this, the fights, in other people's hometowns, 2003, 2 and 03, you traveled to Japan to face another great fighter, Amiko Rakia. I don't know what Rika. I'm not sure how you say her name. I know who she is. I just never knew how to say her name. But for the WIBA featherweight title, they did give her both decisions, a split decision and a majority decision. They both were extremely close fights. I feel like had it been outside of just Japan, like we talked about earlier, the fights probably would have went in your favor. But tell us, what do you think about those two fights and her as an opponent?
Oh my gosh. So the first fight, oh my goodness. So I get to Japan, and again, it's the same. Like there's lots of media stuff. My dad is obviously coming from another country. My dad's picked up, he's taught karate for most of his life. So lots of Japanese, like everything in karate is usually Japanese.
Yep.
So when we're over in Japan, he can pick up a lot of what people are saying, like a lot of what people are saying. He can kind of, and then by body language and everything else, his security has been like he just reads people really well. And it was like it was great because you kind of, they same thing. You're on show everywhere. Everyone wants to see who you are. So many like different interviews, jumping on TV. Everyone, you get put into a gym to train, and everyone's coming up for a photograph. Like it was amazing. It was lovely. Let's say it was lovely. I beat the shit out of that girl. Like I beat her. I don't even know how she stood, but Dad had heard them say, get back in there all you have to do is stay standing and it's yours. Like if she collapsed in the corner,
Well,
she
they would
can't.
have no choice.
So she literally stood there. Her eyes were pretty much shut. Her cheekbone, I didn't know this until the next day because we we're with the promoter and the promoter took a call and she'd been put into hospital. So her cheekbone had been broken. Her skull had been fractured. Like I punched her with everything I had and everything I didn't even know I had. I'm like,
Yeah.
Is I started to query, is it a woman?
Yeah.
Like, how can you take such a beating? Because
Right.
that would be
Standing.
at that time in my career, that would have been for that period the fittest and the strongest I'd ever stepped in the ring. I was so prepared, and I
Yeah.
was like, I'm taking this out. So again, when she was still standing, eyes shut, the whole lot, and there's like, I think I had a bit of a black eye, and that was it. And I'm still standing there, and I'm looking, and they're reading out the decision, and they put her hand up. I'm like, oh my gosh, like how do you do that?
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing for me was if I'd taken that was the big wake up call for me. If I took the title away, she would have been nothing in Japan.
Yeah.
So by her keeping the title, she became someone.
Yeah.
So 12 months later, we couldn't fight for 12 months because obviously her face had to heal and her bones had to heal and everything else. 12 months later, like I just was not in the right frame of mind at all. I wasn't in the frame. I'm like, I'm going to go over there. I'm going to take the fight and I'm going to lose anyway. It doesn't matter. And I remember, like weigh-ins are the hardest, right?
Yeah.
Like the hard saunas, the whole lot, because you're always stripping down to your bare minimum. Oh my gosh. I sometimes look at what we used to do for weigh-ins and think, how the hell did I survive?
Yeah.
Did you go through any of that or did you just weigh in at a normal weight?
No, and I did it one time for one fight, and it was the hardest thing I ever did, and I only had to go down 6 pounds. So I'm like, that's shit. That's nothing. But it was very hard, very hard to do. But that's just because I didn't have anything to lose. But no, I fought at what I walked around at because I did not have to go through because we had to work full time. I already had one kid at the time. I didn't have time to really focus on dieting, and I didn't have the time for the extra training to lose the weight properly. So I just fought at what I walked around at, or I went up in weight.
Yeah. So here, because it was hard to get fights, I would fight at 57 kilos.
Yeah.
Then I'd fight. Someone say, I've got a 70-kilo fighter. I'm like, that's all right. Give me 3 months. I'll put the weight on. I'll go for it. Do you know what I mean? So I'd go and add, and then you'd have to drop. Like you'd be fighting someone at 70 Ks, and then next thing someone will say, oh, we'll fight you at 54. And it's like, far out. Okay. But then it was like you did everything you could to get a fight.
Yeah.
So I remember, and I love, like, obviously I love chocolate. I love sugar. So that didn't help, right? And back then I loved to party. Like I was like a party queen. Put music and a drink in front of me and it was like, let's go, right?
Yeah.
But then I'd have my switch. Like I didn't have kids back then, but then I had the switch that if it's training, there's nothing else. And then it was like you could train and go out on weekends when the fights. And I had so many times, I think probably because I was in Australia, so many times you'd be training for a fight and then the fight would fall over. Keep going for another 3 months, fight would fall over. Train more, fight would fall over. And you'd be like, the emotional roller coaster you go through with your body when that is happening is crazy. But I remember going over there and I remember, so at every weigh-in I would have like some fruit and everything chopped up, and because I just kind of try and dry out. I would always want to make sure I was lighter than the opponent. Like that was just a mental thing for me, right?
Yeah.
And I was 5'3". So fighting in a heavier weight class meant I was going to be fighting girls that are 5'10", 5'11", 6 foot. So it was like, be smart. Fight the lower weight class. They're going to be about the same size. I was probably still the shortest one in the whole weight class anyway.
Yeah.
And I felt great at to fighting at 126. Like I felt amazing. So I remember I had to go and make weight, and I got on the scales, and I was, oh my God, I was so overweight. I literally had just lived life normally. I still trained, but I was like, I just was not there mentally. I was going through a relationship issues with the twins' dad, and this before I had kids. I was just going through so much shit that I just wasn't there. I just knew it wasn't going to work. And I remember getting on the scales, and they're like, "You got to lose another kilo." And I'm like, "Out, seriously, a kilo?" And I'm like, "I don't even know how to do that." I'm going into the change room. I've opened the water, started lollies. So I go back out half an hour later. I get back on, and now I'm a kilo and a half heavy. My dad's gone, "What have you done?" So I didn't make the weight, so the fight should never have been a world title because I never made the weight to keep the world title. But I went ahead and climbing up the stairs. I felt so weak.
Yeah.
So I hadn't prepared myself. To the second fight, little go down real fast. And I remember feeling like I saw like everywhere I moved. One of the guys that came over my corner said, "Can I help it?" Dad said, "Yeah." And he laid me down. He started pushing points, pressure points in my body, and I could actually feel everything in my body. I was just exhausted. I was thinking, I can't support this death. So the thing you have to do mentally, when you haven't mentally and emotionally and physically prepared yourself,
Yeah.
they're tough. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever been through a fight where you like were not prepared at all, even though you probably did, or was it?
Yeah. I think we've all had that happen. Um, let's do one more refresh. Okay. Because I don't want her to start cutting out again. Michael, is she cutting out on your guys' end too, or is it just me? A little bit? Okay. Well, I started getting worse last time, so I didn't want it to get too bad. There we go. All right, throw me back in. Michael, where'd I go? It says I'm in the show.
I can only see me on the screen at the moment.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello. I could see you when you came back in, but I couldn't see myself. So then I did a refresh.
Yeah, I couldn't see you either.
Okay. Well, here we go. All right. Yes, no, I totally understand. And yes, I think we've all had that where we go and we prepare but we didn't really prepare. It's good now. Thank you, Michael. Yeah, I think it's good now too. We've all been there.
Yeah,
Get in there.
perfect. I'm glad I'm not the only one.
I'm not ready. No. Shortly after that, though, you came back strong. 2004, you defeated Lisa Brown. You gave her very first loss, defending your WBF featherweight title. I had one of those when I fought Mary McGee was 17-0 and gave her first loss. I don't know. There's just something about, I guess, giving somebody their first defeat. So tell us about that fight and how it felt to give her first loss when she had a pretty good, impeccable career so far.
Yeah, she did. And I think also, I guess the same can be said no matter where you go. If to her, maybe she won. Again, similar to Jojo Wyman, it was a tough fight. And so I picked a lot of my fights. So I'll go into that when we start talking about the WBC. But I remember, so the people that were around me, by then I think I'd moved over to Jeff Fennick. I kind of separated my coaching with my dad. That all had to do with the relationship that I was in, and it was just horrible and like was great at the time, and I thought it was amazing. Us girls do dumb things sometimes. We make crazy decisions, and even I look back now and I was probably 47 by the time I actually looked in the mirror and told myself that I love who I am, that I loved me, and that I was proud of me and what I've done. Like the judgment we push on ourselves that put us into places that are like, my God, like it's tough, right? But so I was over with Jeff Fennick by then, and it's like, it was great. Jeff Fennick got me back on TV. I can say a lot of things about him that I probably won't publicly. You know, the whole crew. It's like everything's a men's club. The tough part about boxing is back then it was just a men's club, you know, and the things that was expected of us, the hoops you had to jump through, and the things that people wanted to have done were, you know, I just shake my head. I literally shake my head. But I remember, like, they were overseas with another fight. I had no one to help me pick a fighter for this show coming up. And he said, just go and find someone to fight. And I was like, she was like one of the top 3 in the rankings. I'm like, I'll take her. I had no idea she was southpaw. I didn't research anything, nothing. I just said, I'll take her. She's good. I love the color she's wearing, and she looks like she's tough as nails, right? Well, wake up when you're in the ring and you're fighting a southpaw and you don't know what, like, I did start to prepare for it, but I'd never fought one before. So, oh my God, did I get hit? Like, and then it was like in my head, when I'm fighting, it's like if they hit me once, I need to hit them back 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
I've got to land double, triple, quadruple to what they've just landed, right, as a professional fight. And that, again, was just a war. But this war was harder than there was the war where there was so much blood. This was a war of my mind. Where did the foot have to go? Where did this have to go? This is completely different to what I'm used to. And every time I step the way I usually step, right, every time, boom, I'm getting hit. So that was probably a really big thing. And I think one of the things that I'm really proud of what I did do was my fitness levels were always, apart from the second Japan fight, my fitness levels always just got better and better and better. So when it come to that point of round 6, round 7, round 8, all the way up to round 10, I was getting faster and stronger rather than getting tired. But yeah, that fight there was a war. And when they raised my hand, after all the emotional baggage that had gone, like, I think I hit it with everything that I'd gone through, from a relationship, from not having my dad there, from everything inside my heart that felt wrong, but I tried to push for it to be right. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think I hit it with pretty much all of that. That was kind of where we were at. And, you know, whether, I don't know how she felt about the fight, but I just walked away thinking, if that's what I can do when I'm emotionally jammed, when the whole team come back and said, who the hell did you pick? That's a southpaw. Have you seen her record? And I'm like, yep. Like, I just didn't care. I'm good. We'll take it. Right. So another thing, you know, men in this sport have someone constantly watching who they're going to fight, and everything's picked and
they don't even have a say in who they're fighting. Well, I mean, I guess they do technically, but usually they have nothing to do with. That's why whenever they ask them after the fight, well, who's next? Well, I don't know. We're going to have to sit down and talk to the team and see what they think.
Absolutely. Not us.
No, not us. It was like, yep, I'll take that one. Yeah, I'll fight her.
Who's next up the ranks there? Who else can I take? So again, even in that fight, like, I remember when you're in the ring and you're fighting someone, like, I'd like to mess with them a little bit. So sometimes, if they'd hit me a beauty, I would just laugh.
Yeah.
Like, it could have been a knockout punch, but I'd be able to hold myself together enough to just start laughing at them. And I would know mentally they'd be thinking, well, if she's stand up to that, what have I got left?
What am I gonna do now?
And I would push people back on the ropes. I would use the ropes a lot when I fought, and I'd be winking at people in the audience that would cheer me on. Like, if they're cheering her on, I'd blow them kisses with my mouth guard. And I would just do crazy stuff just to have fun. And I think the biggest thing I learned as well, when you're in the ring, if you're not having fun, you're not going to be in for a good day. The more fun you can have, the more playful you can be, and the more cheeky you can be, the more the greater the win anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to have fun while you're in there. There's no point in doing it at all. If you're not having fun, then you shouldn't even be in there.
Absolutely. And it goes from being physically fit and knowing all the moves to, now how do I mess with your head?
Right.
What am I doing here to now mess with your head to just put you off center, because the more
Right.
I can do that.
I know you felt that. I know you felt my face on your hand, and that was a good punch. And you know you landed a good punch, but I'm not going to show you that you landed a good punch.
Yeah,
Now,
absolutely.
in your mind, you're going to be like, "What the hell am I going to hit her with now?" Because that's everything I have.
Absolutely.
That's good. That's good. But speaking of the WBC, though, 2005, you had another iconic fight with when you defeated Marcela Cuna for the WBC featherweight title. You did become the very first female to hold the WBC championship as well. Tell us about the fight, how it felt to become the very first WBC female champion.
Oh, you know what I said before, like until you hit the pinnacle of the titles,
Yeah.
like you literally become like the queen.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, I've made it.
Yeah.
But I didn't make it just by hoping someone was going to sign some paper or hoping that someone was going to ring me up and say, hey, do you want to have a fight? Literally, I remember like my partner at the time, which was the same one that gave me all the headaches. I had twins to him, ran before they were born. Very grateful because I learned so many lessons from him. So I'm so grateful for everything I learned. In the moment, I think I just wanted to stick it out and just be headstrong and say we can make everything work, you know. But I remember him saying, oh my God, you're not going to believe this. Guess who has started ranking female fighters? Right? Because he lived on the computer. I didn't. I was always busy training and I'm like, who? And he goes, WBC. The WBC has started ranking women fighters. And I'm like, you can't be serious. Like, and he goes, guess who's second on the rankings? I'm like, I don't know who. And he goes, oh, you idiot. It's you. So I'm like, oh my God. Okay, so what have I got to do? What have I got to do? Like, no one's ever fought yet. So what do I have to do? So then I rang. Kelsey was the first one on the list. She was number one. So I reached out to her. She was like, no, not taking the fight. I'm not interested, right, at the time. And I'm like, okay, too easy. Okay, sugar. Okay, she's not going to fight. Then I can't fight for the fight. And I'm like, oh, no, I can. No, I can. So then I rang number 3. Then I reached out number 4, number 5. Everyone said no. By the time I hit number 5, I said that I'm done. I'm not going lower than number 5 for a world title, right? Yeah. None of these. I'm going to fight someone who's like 38th in the world, right? Top 5, or it's not even a proper world title. So then I reached out to the WBC. I went, hi, I'm Sharon, blah, 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 blah. Help me get a fight. I want to fight. I will even make it happen over here in Australia. I'll find a promoter to put it on, blah, 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 blah. And literally, they handpicked Marcela Acuna. Right, so they said she's a weight division down. She's very tough. She's from Argentina. You're in for a fight of your life. You know, but this is who we've chosen. You asked us to pick you an opponent that's going to be worthy of you fighting for this world title. This is who we've chosen. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. Let's go. Preparation for that fight was so different to any other fight I had ever fought. One, she was a weight division down. I'm like, damn, in my head, I can't be heavier than her at weigh-in. Yeah. I've got to be lighter than what she is at weigh-in. So I'm normally weighing in at, you know, for me, it was like I had to be under 57.25. So I'd usually be around 57 kilos, right? 120, I think it was 126 pounds. So I'm like, I've now got to get under 54 kilos, right? And I did it in the most incredible way. Like, I trained beyond anything I'd ever trained for. I was like, this is it. This is it, right? And even when I had said yes, my partner at the time said to me, are you mad? Like, are you mad? And I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, she has knocked out, like, go into her history, she has knocked out pretty much first or second round, knocked out every opponent she's fought, everyone. And he said, I'm not talking about, because he would read up on it all. And I just didn't do that. I'm just like, it's somebody's in my way, right? Yeah. That's all I thought. You're in my way. This is what I want. You're in the way. I've got to get through you to get to it. And he said, I'm not talking about they just fell over and it was a TKO. I'm talking about their toes are twitching on the mat. They're out cold. Yeah. And I'm like, she hasn't fought me yet. Right?
Yeah. Right.
Oh I trained my heart out. I slept. I ate so diligently. Like, I dropped my weight. Obviously, WBC, you got a 30-day weigh-in, 14-day weigh-in, 7-day weigh-in.
You can't not make weight for that one.
No. And you had to weigh in whatever, like whenever the green was done, you had to weigh in there and then and show them how much you weighed, so they knew physically you could get to the weight, right? And then I remember my parents had moved out, were moving out of their home, and they still had the lease for a couple of weeks. They'd moved into a new home, and I just said, can you just leave a bed, a chair, the TV, and a DVD player or a video player? Back then it was a video player. I didn't think we had DVDs back then. It wasn't that far back, but and I just said, just leave me a fridge and a microwave. That's all I want. Just leave that in the house. And I literally barricaded myself there for 2 weeks. So I thought, I'm like, I don't even know how to, we're both, like, we're warriors. Yeah. I don't take a step back. She doesn't take a step back. I'm like, I got to work out, one, if she's that strong, she's knocking people out, what have I got to do? And I was told quite quickly, it's going to be like Hagler and Leonard, and you're normally Hagler. You need to become Leonard. And I'm like, far out. Well, I was going to swear then, but I won't. I'm like, how the hell do I do that? So in my head, I'm like, because men always like, yeah, I've got my fight plan. I've got this. I'm like, I got no plan. I'm just going in. I'm going in and I'm going to work. Right. What plan? What is a plan? You know, you feel like, am I stupid? Like, what is a fight plan? I kind of understand it now.
Well, now, yeah.
But then I'd be like, round one, I'm just gonna go and warm up. Round two, I'm just gonna hit 2 times more than she did. Round three, I'm like, funny. Yeah. But this one, I was so diligent, right? So I had no access to normal TV, right? I was like, take the aerial away. I don't want any normal TV. They'd sent over a tape with all her fights on it. And oh my God, talk about toes twitching. And I just watch it, but it didn't faze me because I'm like, we haven't fazed me yet.
Yeah.
I've grown up with 3 brothers, my dad, I've been in abusive relationships. Like, I'm just like, I've trained with men, I've sparred men, I'm emotionally strong, I'm mentally strong, and you're in my fucking way was all I could. You're in my way.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, I remember, so all I watched was Hagler and Leonard. So I just had to constantly keep training like Leonard, which didn't work because I still trained and fought like Hagler, right? It just didn't work. And I just kept watching everything she did, everything she did. And then I got in the ring, and when I fought her, oh my God, I don't know. So the referee I knew because he reffed a number of my fights in Australia, and he just come up to me and he said, in the corner, and he said, Shaz, I'm letting you know, it doesn't matter what she does, I'm not pulling her up for it. And I'm like, what? And he goes, I don't care what she does. I don't care what she does wrong. I'll pull you up for everything. I'm not pulling her up for anything. Because at the end of this fight, no matter if you win, she's going to say she won, and then the WBC are going to want to watch the whole thing. And I want them to see you go to war. And I'm like, shit, you're not even on my side. Anyway, it didn't matter, right? She was already going around the Gold Coast. She turned up here, took one look at me, and she said that Barbie doll's going down in, like, because I was blonde back then, she's going down in like the first 2 rounds. I think I broke my finger in the 3rd round on my left hand because just the way it was strapped, it just didn't feel right. But she was doing these boulder punches that would come down and just smash straight over the top of my head. And I'm like, is that even legal? Like, are they legal? Is there something I don't know? What is, like, is there new rules?
The overhand punch?
Yeah. Well, I didn't know that punch, right?
Yeah.
But it was not even like a punch. It was just like a clobber that would come and just
like a hammer punch.
Yeah. And it was like, I'm like, I don't even know if that's legal, but I don't care. And I just worked out a way to get out of it. And I remember in round 7, I got in the ring. There'd been so much promotion. It was Indy car race time on the Gold Coast. There was hundreds of thousands of people. It was massive. The marketing was huge. I was in and out of interviews nonstop. She was, like, we're getting weighed in. Oh my God. And I weighed in lighter than her. Like, I weighed in at like 54.2 or something. And I'm like, oh my God, I've done it. I've done it, right? That was a big thing. But it was in front of thousands of people. And then we're in the ring and I'm fighting, and round 7, I get this massive headbutt and my whole cheekbone, I just feel it cave in. And I'm like looking up, I'm like, God, it's now between you and I.
Yeah.
You and I are the only two that are going to get through this, and she's not taking this. What this is going to do for Australia, for the WBC, for women's boxing, for me, because I'm just this petite little blonde bimbo, was literally what people would think. You're just a Barbie doll, right?
Yeah.
And I just kept going to work and going to work and going to work, and I won the fight. She contested it. It all got sent to the WBC. The WBC said, no, we score similar to the judges. She definitely won the fight. That was like, I had a designer's dress, like first time in my life, a designer wanted me to wear their dress to the after party. I had to go to Brisbane, try the dress on, get it fitted, the
Yeah.
week before. It was amazing. Like, I just felt like a superstar,
Yeah.
right? But when I had finished the fight, that whole part of my face, I wasn't sure whether something had been rubbed into the gloves. It was like I'd had an allergic reaction at the same time as being hit. So I looked like the elephant woman, right? I could talk, I could move, I wasn't in pain, but my face was so big on one side, and the other side, my cheekbone was broken, right? But I'm still standing there. I'm like clapping my hands, I'm laughing, I'm like, oh my God. But I couldn't do the after party, I couldn't wear the dress, but it was like, I did it. And when you go in and you fight and you come back with black eyes and you look like a panda and whatever else, but they're war wounds to us. They're what
Yeah.
you go through to get what you got. Now, I definitely didn't look like Noah Miko Raker at the end, like eyes together and half hanging down and like, oh, I've got to
Yeah.
stay steady. I didn't look like her. I'm like, this is my fight. This is my fight. No, I just, round 7, God, it's between you and I. This is us. We have to make this. It's only you and me. That's it. I got nothing else.
Yeah.
Broken cheek, broken finger, dirty fighter, the whole lot. I don't care if she's a nice person. She was dirty.
Yeah.
Now, out of all the women that I've fought, I've always either gone out for a drink with them afterwards. If they've come and fought in my country, I've taken them out for dinner. When I fought Esther Shooten, when I fought her, I booked a 5-star hotel for her, right? Made sure she was getting $10,000 minimum US to fight. I didn't promote it, but I pushed the promoter.
Yeah.
And then I created the most amazing basket of food. So when she got off a plane, she'd come in and there was all healthy snacks and fruits, and there was fresh things baked, and she had all this stuff in her room that I had gone out of my way to prepare for her, because she deserves that. I've got off the plane so many times in another country, and it's like you're trying to find a dirty burger somewhere because you're hungry, you can't have flight food. Do you know what I mean? And you're trying to limit what you eat. But this woman, like, got out of the ring, rude, horrible, and I'm just like, in my language, it's like, see you
Yeah.
later. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
And I think that was just for me, that was like, you are the strongest. Like, for me and who I had to face. And it was like, it just gave me a whole new world of love for so many other female fighters out there that, we're expected to lose and we don't look the part or whatever. I'm like, man, does this woman get served up like knockout punches for breakfast? Like,
Yeah.
her hubby was older than her. He was big man. He was always screaming at her. And I'm like, now I don't know what was going on in that house. But
Yeah.
I was her with so many things, and she would just look at me like I would look at other people, and I'm like, oh my God. So I just had to keep going until I broke it down. Like, it was unbelievable. When you go to war and you're broken, but you're like on fire, and you're like, I may be broken, baby, but it's mine. I have done more than enough. So and you know what it's like, WBC, they treat you like you're a champion for life.
Yeah.
I remember going over. I flew over to the WBC convention, the first one that like the following month. I'm on the back of a motorbike with a copper. We're in a massive big procession of all world champions. So many world champions from back then. It was right back from the 1950s, 1960s. Camacho, Hector Camacho.
Yeah.
There was everyone. I'm like, far out, like. Some of them I didn't even know. Vander Holyfield, Floyd Mayweather, like everyone. I'm like, holy shit. And you're in the most amazing, like, it was like 7-star accommodation. Everything's provided. You're treated like a queen. It was like signing autographs, and everyone's like wanting your photo. And it was amazing. And that was when I actually met Jelena Majenovic and her sister. We were the only 2 champions there. And it was like on the first day, it was, far out.
Yeah.
Take me back, and it's like, oh my God, I'm a superstar.
Yeah. Well, it's true. And yeah, I mean, I felt the same way when I fought in Mexico, because even though I was the opponent, people, I mean, everybody knew me. Like you couldn't even leave your hotel room without people stopping you for photos and autographs, and you couldn't go out to eat with people out coming up. And I'm just like, Lord, can I, let's just order a take-in to the hotel today. Cause I don't, I mean, and it was awesome and it was a phenomenal feeling. But by the end of the week, I was like, I understand why movie stars and like famous people sometimes are
Yeah.
just like, leave me the fuck alone. Like I am with my family. Like no photos today. Like I get why people do that, and I only
Yeah.
dealt with it for a week. But I understand, like if you had to deal with that every single day, why sometimes it's just overwhelming.
Yeah.
But it's
That's
a phenomenal
hard work.
feeling. But it was just so strange to me to only get where literally everybody knew who I was, and everybody wanted that like it was a whole nother country, like not even my country. Like I don't even get that treatment. I didn't even get that treatment here. It's just weird, but that's just because
Yeah.
boxing
That's
is
so
so
funny
big.
too. Here in Australia, it's the same. A
Yeah,
certain, like, I'm quite well known amongst the entire boxing population and quite a few others. But you go to another country and everyone knows who you are.
yeah,
Everyone knows who you are.
yeah,
Um, you know, yeah, it's interesting. It's so interesting. The
it's
journey
different.
of being a fighter and making it to the top. And then I defended my title against Esther as well. But it's interesting and it's humbling. Like I remember the first couple of fights I walked into in the ring as a kickboxer or whatever, I'd be punching myself. I'd be like, ah, jumping down the spot, shaking myself out. By the end, I'm like listening to chilled music. I'm relaxed. I'm breathing. I'm meditating. It's like you think you have to be tough and rough and aggressive,
Yeah,
but you've just got to be fit and fast and kind of be ready. Do you know
yeah,
what I mean? But you've got to be relaxed. The minute someone takes you off from your mind space, game over.
yeah, totally. Yeah, 100% agree with that. You did officially hang up the gloves though, 2007. What made you decide to retire at that time?
So it was not by choice. It was not by choice. I just picked up an incredible manager. I was training under the Titans Football Club here. Like they had a great strength and conditioning coach. Again, I'll go back to male-dominated sports and team sports. Everything's taken care of. Us
Yeah,
women, oh my God, you got to fork out of your own pocket for your massage, for dietitians, everything. Everything costs money, right?
yeah,
Not if you're a guy. Not if you're a guy. But that's okay. Everything was a massive learning experience, right? And I was like, I was looking at Regina Helmich over in Germany. There was 3 fights. I was going to go back to Japan and finish that job properly, and then come over to the US. And it was going to be probably fight-wise, what we were looking at negotiating was going to be sitting at about $100,000 for 3 fights, right? And then sponsorship on top of that, the whole lot. And it was like, oh my God, I've made it.
yeah,
This is now the start of the next chapter. Once you're the champion of the main belt, right? And then next thing you know, I'm pregnant with twins.
okay.
Like
Because I was
literally.
kind of like, why did she retire? She was like at the peak of her career, but that makes sense.
So it was like,
My retirement was because I got pregnant with my second daughter, and then that's when I
yeah.
was like, I'm not gonna. We'll just leave it at that.
So that's what happened. And I remember my management team and everything, they're like, because I wasn't with the father. When I found out I was already 9 weeks pregnant, we'd gone, we'd already been separated for 3 months. We'd had to go, we'd already had a weekend paid for that, like I'd already paid for. And we're going down to watch Love More to Do, who would help take over training me. Um, you know, just before the WBC world title, he probably come up for the last month and a half and helped train me. And like he did all the photos, did the video for the whole show for the WBC, the very first ever. Um, I I just lost track of where I was going then. What was I talking about? Look, I
Why?
just had a
Why you retired? Because then you got pregnant with the twins, and then you
yeah.
went. Yeah,
So I had all my life. They put you in front of the camera and you could just talk, right? You could talk freely, say what you wanted. I never ever insulted anyone in front of the camera. As much as they want you to trash talk everyone, I was like, I just can't be bothered. I'd love to knock them out in round 2, but if I don't, I don't. And I'd always think if I'm going in and I'm because I loved it so much, I'd wanted to go 10 rounds most of the time because I wanted the experience of the fight and I wanted to kind of save everything. But I remember when I fell pregnant, I was training with the Titans. I'm watching all these guys, they're preseason, they're footy players, they're throwing up outside, they're like struggling. I'm laughing my head off. Like, yeah, I'm fitter than these guys, right?
Yeah.
And then, like, I'm probably 6 weeks out of a fight. And I remember I'm going in on the scales nearly every morning. The strength and conditioning coach is weighing me in, and he's like, "You're heavier. What the hell did you eat last night?" And I'm like, "It was a tiny bag, like twisties, right, like potato." And I'm like, "That was eating a piece of fruit. That's all I ate." And he's like, every day I was getting heavier and heavier, and I finished training in the morning, and I'm walking up the stairs in my duplex apartment. And I get to the top of the stairs. I'm like, oh my God, I must be so unfit. I can't hardly breathe. Right. I've done the morning training session. I'd be like gasping for air. And I'm like thinking, oh, what is going on? I just need to sleep. I'll have a sleep. I'll go train in the afternoon. 9 weeks later, I'm out the front spewing in a bucket, right? Like in a bin. And then I'm meant to be sparring that afternoon. And I ring him at about 3 o'clock. I'm like, I just feel really sick. And he goes, oh, you've probably come down with a bug. That's probably why you're still getting a fat ass, he's saying to me, right? Because my weight's going up instead of down. I'm training so hard. I'm eating like really, really clean. And he said, ring your sparring partner and just let them know, hey, I'm not feeling good. So I rang him up and I said, hey, Emma, I'm not feeling great. Like I've been throwing up today. I don't know what's going on. And he said, you couldn't be pregnant, could you, Shaz? And I'm like, what? You actually.
Uh-oh. We froze. Michael, is she frozen on your end? Can you she probably can't even hear me, can she? Is my screen frozen too, Michael, or is it just hers? Oh, maybe she's doing a reset. Let's see if she comes back in. Hopefully her phone didn't die or something. Give it a second and see if she comes back. Me too. There we go. You froze.
No, my whole phone went bright pink. The whole
That was
screen went
weird.
pink and pixelated and just died.
That's weird.
Yeah. So listen, so I say to him, oh, there's no way I can be pregnant. You have to have sex to get pregnant. I haven't had sex for, it's got to be months.
Yeah.
And then I've gone home and my mum's gone off she's gone through hypnosis and everything over the last month and a half of like giving up smoking and stuff, right? I'm talking way back. And it's so funny. She goes off, I ring her, I'm like, oh, I'm not feeling real good, Mum. I said, Emmett's made a comment about being pregnant. She goes, well, could you be? And I'm like, Steve and I have been separated. Like it was 9 weeks ago, Mum. There's no way, or 8 weeks back then. And funny enough, she goes to the shops because she's always shopping. She goes and buys 2 packets of cigarettes that she never ended up opening. But she comes back with 2 pregnancy tests as well. And she said, I bought 2 just in case. One didn't work. So 2 pregnancy tests, 2 packs of cigarettes. And then they come up positive. When I go to the doctors and I go and have a scan, he's like, oh my gosh, you must be so excited you're having twins. And I'm like, what? What? So that blew me away. One, I didn't want to be with the father. I never wanted to be the single mom. That was such a label. And I was in so much fear of like what's next and when do I fight next and what's going to happen. And so that's kind of where my fight career had stopped. But I remember the new management team, they're like, we've got to prep you for the media. We've got to prepare you. these are the words you have to stay away from. And I'm like, what? So it was a big wake up call. But you would have, even for you, like when you fell pregnant just in the middle of your career, like all of a sudden your identity has to change.
Yeah.
You've got to become someone else. And I didn't already have a child before that. And I was just like, who am I? Like, I've grown myself to be this person, and I've got you'd walk down the street and you'd hear kids like, oh, that's Sharon the right thing. Like,
Yeah.
you'd stop, you'd give them a cuddle, and you'd say hello, and you'd take a photo with them. And I'm like, my God, like, who am I? Do you know what I mean? Even to the point that when my youngest, who is now, he's 12, he turned 12 in April. He was probably 2, and I had agreed to go over to the States and fight. I'd been talking to a guy from the US for a while, for probably a year, and he's like, let's get you onto US soil. I'll get sponsors. We'll get you fighting. I get all the way over there after the big WBC convention, the first ever women's boxing convention in Cancun.
Yeah.
And I get to America, and within 2 days, I realized it was all rubbish. He was not who he said he was. I took my kids. I took my nanny. And I'm like, and I remember ringing Mia St. John. I'm in like a subway. And I ring Mia St. John. And I'd only really got to know Mia at the convention. And I'm like, I'm being pulled to ask you, do you know Roy Jones Jr.? Because this is what's going on. And she's like, why didn't you ask me at the convention? I would have told you who this guy was. I would have told you that he's not a promoter, or he's got nothing to do with promoting. And, he was, anyway, so I just was like, I didn't even think about it. I'm on this journey, right, to get back in the ring and find my identity after being a mum. And it was so funny, within like 3 minutes, I had Roy Jones Jr. send me a text message saying, what's up? And I remember going into his gym, and I had such 2 really different experiences. I walked into the Floyd Mayweather gym the night before. Have you ever been to Floyd's gym?
Yes, when I went to the inductions last year.
Oh, okay.
By there just because I wanted to go to the gym. So yeah,
but did you ever?
He wasn't there.
No, he never is.
No.
Well, he probably is, but just not when everyone else goes.
Not when everybody else goes.
I remember going in to his gym. I remember I had to sign paper, I had to pay money, I had to walk through the door, and I got to do some rounds on the pads with one of his uncles. I had to pay him some money, and then I went and did some bag work, and I just felt like I was the odd one out. I really did. And no, I'm not saying anything nasty to anybody else, but I just felt like I was just in the wrong place. Like, everyone was like looking at me funny. Like, well, I felt that they were, you know what I mean? And then the next day I go walking into Roy's gym, and I wasn't going to go into Floyd's. I was like, oh, I wonder if I meet him. But I'm not kind of a glory person like that. But I'm like, I'm being pulled to Roy Jones Jr. and I'm already here, and I've got my kids here, and I've like got no money left. I've got us over here. I've got to find us somewhere to stay. I need to find some way to make money, and I need to find a fight, because I can't go back without having a fight. I literally can't. Like, how do you do that? How do you like uphold your whole family, go overseas, and you're like, that was a joke. Like, I'm like, shit. So I remember I had to walk through. Have you been to Roy's gym in Vegas?
I haven't. No.
So you're going to go in, and then you're going to go up some stairs, and you walk past all the offices, and then you oversee. The only way in is through these stairs. Then you go back down some more stairs. But when you get to the top of the landing, you oversee the whole gym. The cages, they had a big cage there. They had a boxing ring. They had weights. They had bags everywhere. There's guys training, and I could see him, and like, I'm so nervous, right? Because
and it's in Vegas.
Like, huh?
It's in Vegas.
Yes.
I didn't even know he had a gym in Vegas.
Well, this is a long time ago, remember, because my kids were like young, and he's just turned 12.
Yeah, but still, I didn't even know he had one in Vegas.
But and I've walked in, and now I'm overseeing everyone. I'm all dressed up. I've got high heels on. I'm in normal clothes. I've just come in to say hello, meet and greet. Now I've got a training bag just in case. And I remember standing at the top, and he's looked up and he's seen me, and he stopped every man in the place. And he said, now I want you all to know, no woman has ever trained in here. You've all had women in here watching you train, taking photos, all that kind of thing. But no woman has ever asked to walk into this gym and train, and I've never invited a woman in here to train. And he said, now that lady up there has come all the way from Australia. She's won probably as many world titles as me. And he said, she deserves to be respected in this gym. And I'm like, I like wanted to cry. I'm like, I walked into Floyd's gym the day before feeling so uncomfortable, so just right out of my comfort zone, but just even felt like no one really was like, oh my God, you're a world champion. Nothing. It was like, you're just another person walks in the door.
Right.
In the door. And Roy stopped everyone. And as I've come down the stairs, he goes, you need to get down here and say hello. And I've come down the stairs, and we've been mates ever since. Like, I've had him on so many like webinars. I do webinars back here in Australia with him. He's just a gentleman's gentleman.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I have watched him. I took Alicia Ashley. She was in Vegas. I'm like, come to Roy's gym. Come to Roy's gym. And she's like, can you go to Roy's gym? I'm like, I'll get you to Roy's gym. Come on. So he spent time with us. But even her mum, she wore a jacket that was from the amateur boxing day that Roy had lost the supposed fight that he should have won, which caused upheaval, right? Right back from 1980 something, she had the jacket on. And I went up to Roy, didn't really take much notice because he's training everybody and he's working with me and Slick. And then I said to him, that's Alicia's mum, and she's actually, I don't know if you know what she's wearing. And he's turned around and taken one look, but he's just walked up and he's hugged her and he's talking to her. And he's the kind of man that when most fighters, I remember seeing Saul Alvarez walking away from the big Night of Champions, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's an amazing fighter, but this old, chubbier lady was trying to get his autograph, and they were just pushing her out the way. And I'm like, out of everyone you stop for, the one that probably needs it the most or could uplift your spirits the most, you just walk past. Right? But with Roy Jones, he would stay until the very end and speak to the last person till they had their last question. And I'm like, I love that man and his family forever to this, it's to go through the whole career, right? Brooke, you know what it's like. Men in the boxing industry. There are so many wicked, evil, horrible, greedy men in the boxing industry. To get to someone who's made it to the top over and over and over to be the biggest gentleman you'll ever see.
Yeah.
Right?
I've never had the pleasure of meeting Roy, but I would love to meet Roy one day before my time is over. But I have not ever came across him. But my husband and I are both fans of his. And I would love to meet him one day.
Well,
but
let me introduce him.
Yeah. Well, they're not, like you said, there's a lot of them are not what you would call people, like a people person or friendly. No. But when you come across one, you just know.
Literally, you could ask him to come on to one of your shows, and he would come onto your show, and he would talk.
You said, now this is supposed to be an only women's show.
Oh, no.
I think I would definitely allow one show if Roy would want to come on the show. You'll have to set that up for me.
Absolutely. I think even after 9 weeks of training with him, like we went off to the Bahamas, I did some work while I was over there. I come back and I was going to move all of my family to Florida to go and train. And my dad's like, he just said to me, you seriously, because I have this motto, never leave a soldier behind. Like, where you go one, you go all. And they were my kids, and like I love them to pieces. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't, my parents like, you go and get this fight thing off your chest. You go over there, prepare for it, and then come back. We'll have the kids here. I'm like, there's no way I can leave my kids, right? I just couldn't do it. And when I come back, my dad said to me, do you remember everything you went through to become the pinnacle of your career? Do you remember everything? Do you remember the moods? Do you remember the way you, like, because your mood changes. You become you become internally aggressive even though you don't mean to, right? Yeah. And he said, do you really want to go through that with your kids, and do you want them to see that side of you now, or do you want to look at something else? And I think that was a really big wake-up call to me as well. It was a really, really big wake-up call to me. It was like, am I here to still hit women, like to fight
Yeah.
women, and be physically brutal to women after I become a mum? Or am I here to raise women and lift women up and create something completely different? And that's kind of where I ended up.
Yeah.
I do share, I want to share two quick stories with you. My very, very first fight ever. I'm in these white silky boxes, like that were just there was no class in women's boxing until we brought it in with colour
Right.
and diamantes and skirts and all sorts of things, right? But I remember I went up to, they were going to call me into the ring, and the fight promoter come up. He goes, "Oh, I need a fight name." I'm like, "Oh, no idea. No idea. I've got no idea." And I'm like, "Let me go and ask." And he's like, "Oh, no, I'm going to call you Silky Smooth." I'm like, "You are not." Like, remember back then I was like, I was aggressive. I was rough. I'd hit myself. I'd be jumping up and down the spot, screaming, "Oh," trying to get ready to get in the ring, right? And I'm like, Silky Smooth, no way. And I went up to my dad and I said, "Dad, I need a fight name." And he's going to call me Silky Smooth. And if he does that, I'm not stepping through those ropes. And he goes, "I don't know. You don't fight like a girl and you don't look like a guy. You're just some kind of wild thing." And I'm like, "Oh my God,
I was going to ask you how you got your nickname. The wild thing.
that's it. That's it." And I think the other story I really wanted to touch on, like, I remember when I was being offered like a package, like I was working for the government. I was an investigator for the government, and I was probably earning about 2,000 a fortnight. That would have been back in, that was back in 90, probably 92, 93. I was earning a lot of money. Like back then it was crazy. And I said to Mum, I said, "I know it's really important because we're taught from a young age, go to school, good grades, the whole lot." Oh my God, I got in so much trouble at school. But good grades, do the whole thing, and you'll get paid good money, and you need to make good money to have a good life, right? That's just jam packed into us forever. Yeah. And I said to Mum, like, I know what's really important is that I stay in this job and I work hard, Mum, and I make more money and I can buy houses for everyone. And like, that was where my head was at. And I said, I just don't know how I'm going to be able to train to become a world champion. And she knew my dream. Like, she knew my dream. And you know what she said to me? Because I said, "They've offered me a redundancy package, Mum, so this could be my opportunity." And you know what she said to me? She said, "When you're 80, in your 80s, and you're sitting around with your kids and your grandkids, do you want to say you could have been or you were?" And I'm like,
that is a statement right there.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So she was like my number one fan. She, like, everything to do with fight preparation or anything, my mum was always there, like always there. If she wasn't helping me with whatever I needed when it come to in the kitchen and making sure I was getting enough sleep and making sure I was getting taken to all the right training sessions, she was literally like selling tickets for people to come watch me fight. It was amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, they're probably the big things that I wanted to share because they just really impacted me, and something that I would like all women to take away with them. Like, when you're stepping outside of your comfort zone and you're wanting to try something that is so out of the normal or so uncomfortable for you, do the same thing. Ask the question my mum asked me when you're sitting there in your 80s and you got your kids and your grandkids. Yeah. Do you want to could have been, or do you want to say you were? Like, it's so many women we pull
that is like. That needs its own trademark. You should trademark that statement.
Yeah, and thank you. That's a great idea.
Like, seriously, you could make a fortune off of that quote.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, I love
it. I just lost Mum in January, so it's
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's definitely been an interesting year, but I love that I'm in a space where you can consistently get to reflect. I do life the way I do life. I don't do life the way the government wants me to do life. I don't do life the way schools want me to do life. My kids learn. I'm now the president of a basketball club. You know, my kids are all into basketball. A couple of them were fighting, and I'm just like, do I really want them to go down that path? Do I really, as a woman, it was hard enough, but as a man, there's so many more out there. Like, do I really want that path? So who knows what the future will bring? Yeah. But at the moment, they're having fun in a completely different sport. I remember Roy saying that he had played a basketball game and fought for a world title all on the same day, just to show people it could be done.
Yeah. That's so phenomenal. It really is. Well, if nothing else, you should get the quote and you should go onto like one of those sites and like make it into a picture and hang it on the wall.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you.
For sure. I love that. Speaking of stories and amazing stories, I've asked every single person on the show, you know, just like I know, but people just seem to like pretend like they don't know. But all the females, especially back in the day, have been through a lot of BS in the sport, things that we just should not have to go through, shouldn't have to deal with being women in this male predominant sport. Can you share maybe one of your worst experiences as far as being a female and stuff that you had to go through or witness?
Oh my gosh, there's been quite a few. So I'll share something that just to try and get in the ring as a sanctioned fight, right? For this is right early on in my career. I had to turn up to the Queensland Boxing Association, the Queensland National Boxing Federation, um, just to go into meetings to try and get them to say yes, I'll sanction a woman's fight, right? Because
Right?
literally, and like I get it. These men have been around for a long time. They're passionate about what they're doing. They're passionate about holding the sport of boxing in good stead. The whole kit and caboodle. But like at the end of the day, wake up. I was hearing things like, "Thank you, darling." One of my boys has just put some food down. How lovely is he? um, I was like, all I wanted to do was get in the ring and compete, and they were the thing that was stopping me. It was like, if you can't fight a sanctioned fight, you're not recognised. You're not this. You're not that.
Yeah.
And I remember them saying, like, to the ridiculous point was, if a referee touches you on the boob as they're separating you, you can file for sexual harassment. And I'm like, my first thing was, because back then I had no boobs, I had no kids. And I'm like, I don't even have boobs. Who cares? It's a normal way to separate someone. And then I was getting asked questions like, if you're having your menstrual cycle during the time, and I'm like, where is the brain capacity of some of these people?
Yeah.
Right? So this is some of the stuff you had to go through just to get sanctioned to climb through the ropes, right? So being able to get to that point where I could be sanctioned and climb through the ropes, that was massive. It was crazy. Then you had to go through, there was crazy stuff. Like everyone wanted to be, if a guy wanted to become like a businessman, wanted to become your manager, it was to get in your pants. To get in your pants. No other reason.
Yeah.
We'll flick a little bit of money, make it look good, and at the end of the day, I'm going to try and put a ring on your finger, or like it was constant. And then just whether you could go into a gym and train at the same time that men trained,
Yeah.
right? Could you go in and train with men? Absolutely not. You had to wait till they were done,
Yeah.
right? Because there'd be some superstar in there that didn't want a girl to train in the same gym as him,
Yeah.
right? And I won't mention names. I don't want to insult people or put people down, but to the point of, like, you would work with someone and how sleazy they are, and
Yeah.
you would be literally, the show would be surprised at who the sleazy people are.
Oh,
They would be
I wasn't
really,
surprised at all.
no,
But
you wouldn't be.
the general public probably would be surprised.
Absolutely. And it's like, and do you know what, when people are being sleazy, and then you're painted to be someone else, you're painted to be a different person, and
Yeah.
oh my gosh, you go through every form of mental abuse as a female fighter,
Yeah.
every form, whether it's in a physical relationship with a man, or whether it's just someone wanting to be your manager, your trainer, your promoter. Like, I think in America, I had a lot of fun in America when I went over there. I literally moved over there for 3 months with my dad just to get a fight. Like, I couldn't fight. And no one wanted to fly me over there. So Dad and I were like, let's go. Mum said, you two pack up and go. I'll look after everything here. Go and get her in the ring. And that's when I actually had my first debut over there. Like, the extremes you had to go through.
Yeah.
But if I was a guy, if I had a penis, not
Yeah.
only would I have made multiple millions of dollars, I would have been signed up, flown over, looked after, massage, you name it. Like,
Yep.
so when we look at the stuff in women's boxing, I would say, especially, it's probably still the same now, but what we had to go through as women to get in the ring, the sexual, like the sexual side of things, the mental abuse, the you're never worthy, crazy.
Well, that kills me about the separating with the good if him touching your breasts. Like, I don't think anybody is gonna separate you and like grab your breast. That cracks me up because that's how you separate people.
Absolutely.
I don't think they're like trying to grab anything. They're just trying to break it up.
Yeah, but that's the mentality of what
That's a
most
good
men
one.
have. I remember after my first fight, on the Joe Bugner undercard, it was massive. Where there was 5,000 people, a minimum of 5,000 people at Carrara Stadium, and I was like, they had said to me, "You're not going to go in. Like, we're not gonna go ahead with this fight." And I was just like, "What? What do you mean? We've decided we're not going to go ahead with the fight." And I'm like, "You can just pack up your gear." And I'm like, "You can't be serious." So I've said to my dad, "I'm out. I'm going." He goes, "Where are you going?" And I'm like, "Just follow me." And I just walked out to the ring. I got in the ring, and I'm like, Dad's like, "What the hell are you doing?" I've walked past some incredible fighters, right? And heard some crazy slants of you should be in a kitchen or a bedroom, right? From male fighters. And I've got in the ring and I've grabbed the microphone and I said, "I've been told no one here wants to see two women fight. So I want to know from the audience, do you want me to stay in the ring and go toe to toe with someone else, or do you want me to get out?" And the whole place went crazy. And I just didn't get out of the ring. It's like the steps you have to take
Yeah,
sure you can go ahead and have your fight is crazy.
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 Yeah,
But when
crazy.
you're passionate, you do it, don't you?
Yeah, you just do it anyway, and you just kind of like sweep it under the rug because that's really your only option if you want to do what you want to do.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
kind of ignore it. You also, though, were inducted into the International Women's Boxing Hall of Fame 2020. Congratulations on that achievement. Can you tell us about that special phone call that you got and what that means to you?
Oh, so good. I love that you brought that up because Sue Fox is like an incredible, most incredible human.
Yeah,
She has done so much to bring awareness of women's boxing and with female fighters and what we go through and her own experience as a fighter. What she's created with the Women's Boxing Archive Network. So for anyone that doesn't know what that is, WBAN, look it up. It's amazing. Everything, you'll find everything on there. If you can't find someone on there and they're competing, you need to get them onto Sue so she can follow up. But I hadn't even made. I remember ringing the Australian Boxing Hall of Fame. I remember ringing a guy. I'd been retired for 7 years. And I remember ringing him at like 10 o'clock at night saying, "I'm going through some of the people that have been inducted over the last 10 years. And like, I'm just curious, like, do I need to be dead? Do I actually need to be dead? I've retired a long time ago. Even though I went back to America to train and to compete, no one knew I was competing. No one had any idea." And I was like, why is it as a woman, all these other fighters here in Australia are being brought in as Hall of Famers and they haven't even won a world title. They've got knocked out or whatever, or I couldn't believe it. So when I got that call from Sue that I'd been inducted, oh my God, I'm like, my own country can't recognize me, but America can. Like, oh my God. And my dad showed me some posters. He's like, "You're not going to believe this kid." Like, I didn't even know how to explain it. It's like your whole world opens up. You know you're at the other side of the career now, and now you're in a Hall of Fame, and it's like, what did I create to make that happen?
yeah,
Because you weren't an average Joe Blow,
yeah,
right? You
yeah,
weren't the average person. You're someone that went above and beyond and just kept pushing through the walls and the barriers to keep going. So
yeah,
that lit up my life. It was like, oh my God, I couldn't even believe people remembered me for one. But two, it was like the ability to be recognized from internationally by the biggest organization in regards to women's boxing.
yeah,
Yeah, melt my heart. They were.
yeah. Totally, totally. I had very same reaction. Yeah, and love Sue to death. Are you going to go to this year's inductions for the anniversary?
So I was going last year, but I couldn't. Well, with all the stuff with COVID, we were like, and Roy was actually going to come with me. So
Oh my God, well, I was inducted last year.
I know, I remember, and I wanted to be there for it, and I couldn't get on a plane.
Oh no.
So
well, you can come this year is the 10-year anniversary.
Yeah. So, well, I'll have to drag 4 kids with me because they don't like me going anywhere.
Yeah, I will be there. My husband and I will be there for the anniversary. So invite us back for obviously special guests, but I mean everybody's invited. It's the anniversary.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
She's done such an incredible job. Since then, I've been inducted into the Australian National Boxing Hall of Fame.
Yep.
Inducted into the Queensland Hall of Fame. Yeah, so now I've been inducted into 3. Now I'm like, how do I get into that other one that everyone goes to in America? How do I get into that one?
Yeah, the Boxing Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I don't know how you get into that one. And I have the same reaction though too. When I got that call and got inducted into the International Women's Boxing Hall of Fame, because I've still yet to be inducted into the Illinois Boxing Hall of Fame, which is, I mean, I don't live in Illinois now, but that's where my entire career was. I've lived my entire life. So, and people used to ask me, like, how did you get into that one? But you're not even in like, how did you not get in the Illinois one first? Like, you're from Illinois.
How crazy.
And, because every state has their own Hall of Fame. I said, I don't know.
Same thing. Look at who's running it. I just look and think, what is it with men, especially the older generation, that they just can't recognize a female for doing something incredible in the male dominated arena.
Oh, we had another blackout. There we go. Oh, we lost your sound. Can you still hear me? We got to do another reset. Oh. Yeah, I can't hear you still. Might have to refresh again. There we go. All right, guys, we're almost through. We got to get her back in there. Her phone's probably getting hot.
Hello?
Yeah, hello.
My son, out of my 4 boys, one of my boys has got Down syndrome, and he's trying to ring me from upstairs.
Oh, that's what it was. Because I was like, wait, she went black. Oh no, she's back. It went black for a second. Probably because your phone was ringing.
Are you allowed to even say that these days?
Yeah, on my show you can say anything. This is a no holds bar show. We say whatever we want over here.
Oh, I love it. I've had so much fun.
Yeah,
I've had so much fun, and the Illinois Hall of Fame needs to wake up. They really do. They need to recognize.
There's a guy that reached out I don't know, a year or so, like last year, right? Like after that, and they said that I would be inducted the next year. They have it, but apparently they didn't have one this year because they're in April and I didn't get a call, so they must not have had one. Maybe I don't know. Whenever I guess they have enough people to induct, they have one that year. I'm not really sure how it works, but supposedly I'll get a call one day when they have one.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah,
they're lost anyway.
Yeah, it is what it is. We'll see. But yeah, the other, I don't know if it's the Boxing Hall of Fame in New York. That will be a fun one to do. So maybe one day we'll make that one too. What advice though would you give to aspiring female fighters who are looking to make a mark in the sport themselves?
Oh, I think the most important thing is, one, make sure it's your passion. That's probably the most important thing. Go and learn as much as you can, and train, because the only way You know, it's so funny because these days people like, even at basketball, people will like go and throw half a dozen baskets. They won't get dinner. They're like, oh, I can't even shoot a basket. I'm like, have you got any idea how many jabs I threw on a bag, on pads? Like millions, millions. Like one training session, you'd be doing like 30 rounds in a training session way back then before we realized how important recovery was. But
Yeah.
I'm like, go and learn the art. Go and have fun while you're doing it and just challenge yourself as much as you can. It is the
Yeah.
most women that say to me, "Oh, I could never watch boxing. I could never this." I'm like, "You've never gone and hit a bag." Like it's the most amazing feeling to let stuff go out of your body. Yeah. So for me, it's like go and chase your dreams, baby. Go and chase them because we're all here for something different. We're all here to make our mark and experience something different. And I say to people all the time, we're here for one massive round of life, right? How
Yeah.
much stuff can you jam pack in that while you're here?
Yeah.
Gone are the days where, like, I don't follow. Like I said before, I don't follow the rules, right? I don't follow the rules. I don't stick to one job till you're like 80 and then retire. Like, absolutely not. Jam pack as much stuff as you can into what you can. If that was not my motto, to jam pack as much into my life as I can while I can, I would never have gone and said, yep, I'll come to America. Yep, I'll try again. Yep, I'll do this. Yep. Like, go and chase your dreams and then surround yourself by more women that can help you get there.
Absolutely.
Surround yourself by more women that are going to guide you in the way that's going to get you there every step of the way.
Yeah.
There's plenty of us out there.
Definitely. Definitely. Very good advice. What legacy or impact do you hope to leave behind in the sport, or what is it that you want everyone to remember you for most?
To remember me foremost, I would have to say, for me, it's about having young girls and women be able to look and say, if she can do it, I can do it. And not even just about boxing, but if she can step outside the boundaries. I was like, I was this young girl born in a country town in the middle of nowhere. Like half the town's like pretty much locked up now. It's like dead beat nothing. Well, it's not that bad, but do you know what I mean? Like I was blown away when I went back about 15 years ago and there was boards across everywhere. And it's like, I remember just saying to my parents, you've got to get us out of here, out
Yeah.
of this area. If we're going to go somewhere, you got to get us out of here. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? But what I want to be remembered by is the person that always made someone feel special. Like, I always had time. I've
Yeah.
always got time. I'll stop and listen to anyone and I'll have
Yeah.
the conversation. But and also the person that is just the one that is driven you to push beyond what you think you can. I think the other thing I want people to remember me by is just helping more women realize that you got to fall in love with you first.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes I was thinking about it before I come on the show. Did we fight so well in the ring because we were fighting against ourselves and our own belief of what we could have been, who we should have been, and what we could have done and where we could have, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What did we really fight? Did we fight the people, or were we fighting all of the things that we were brought up against? Right? All of you're only a woman. Oh, no one listens. Like I'm reading a romance novel. I haven't read romance for since I was probably 15. I'm reading
Yeah.
a romance novel that talks about how the men in the family, the daughter gets sold off, like literally gets the family's given a gift for the daughter to marry on, right? And I'm
Right.
like, were we fighting all of those, generations of beliefs of how we are never enough apart from being
Yeah.
baby makers, to stand tall and stand strong and just go, you can be whatever you want to be. You just got to make the decision.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Definitely 100% agree with that. Speaking of the boxing and stuff like that and other women, what do you think of women's boxing today?
I think it's come a long way. It's come a long way from where it was. I'm probably out of the loop a little bit because I'm so busy being a mum and running basketball and just spending time living life. So I did get to spend some time at a show. Well, it would have been about 3 months ago when Lady Ram came over. Like we got to meet in person, and that was amazing. And I think we've gone to a whole new level. And I think those of us that have been here for so long get to appreciate the more of us that we get to meet, and like, damn, how we like what was inside us to make that happen. It's just
Yeah,
incredible.
totally incredible. Totally. Is there anything else that you want to let people know or that we didn't discuss that you want to talk about before we wrap things up tonight?
Not that I can think of. I think if anything, um, to anyone, everyone out there, become a question asker. Become someone who asks questions. When you stand next to someone that could be interesting, ask some questions. So, what did you do different? How did you? What was the moment that made you change your mind or made you make a decision? Find out what the clincher was. Find out what it was that drove someone, because their answer can impact you greatly, and that could take you on a completely different trajectory to where you are.
Yeah.
That's probably about all. Become a question asker. Get interested in people, because even if you're not selling your own stuff or being, running your own business, you still are a business. Every day we're a business. We're a business to make sure our kids want to buy what we want to tell them to do. We're always functioning. Become a question asker and really start getting to know more people.
Yeah.
Powerful stuff.
Very good. Very good advice. Definitely 100% agree with that. Before we go, though, let everybody know where they can follow you on social media, or if they want to learn more about you, where they can get some more info.
Yeah, I'm pretty easy. It's just Sharon Anyos on Facebook or Sharon Anyos on Instagram. I'm not a huge social media person, but if you reach out, there's Sharon Anyos page. If you reach out, I will find time to make an effort and come and talk to you. So please feel free. Brooke, you're doing amazing. I'm so grateful. Thank you for giving me an opportunity. Thank you for sharing some stories with me as well. It's been beautiful.
I will. Yes, it's been an honor. Super excited to have you on the show. Again, yeah, we'll make some connections. We'll talk off air, but make some connections. Maybe we can get some more cool people on the show. We'll work it
Absolutely.
out. But yeah, it's been an honor. I loved your career. You retired right at the beginning of my career, so I knew you well. I knew all about you when I went pro. I knew all about the career, and like that's the one thing I tell everybody. Like I enjoy so much because like I feel like not everybody that I have on, but I know a lot about a lot of the fighters. But I always learn something new every single interview I
Yeah.
do that I didn't know about the person, or just some interesting stories. It's just really all about the stories, and I hope eventually it catches on and it blows up, and all the upcoming girls start watching and just learning from all the other fighters, whether it's a current fighter or a past fighter. You can learn from every one of them. So hopefully one day we'll get that big and we'll get a huge crowd of people watching the show, and everybody can just learn about everybody, because everybody's stories are different and special.
And I will make sure that I reach out to special guests and make sure we can get him on your show.
Sounds good. I will look forward to that. We'll talk off air about it and get that set up. That will be a great, great show to add to the show. But again, appreciate you for being here. Hopefully, one day in the future, we'll get to meet in person and do some more chatting. But you can reach out to me anytime. I'm a busy mom too and working just like you. But I always make time for people. So anytime.
Yeah, it's beautiful. You love you, darling.
Well, you have a blessed day.
Yes.
Because it's day for you over there, and it's 9:30 p.m. for me over here. So I'm gonna go finish doing some cooking for our event we have tomorrow for the barbecue business before heading off to bed. But you have a great day.
I love it. You too.
All right, we'll talk to you soon. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me tonight on another amazing episode of No Punches Pulled with No Mercy. I hope you all enjoyed the show. Please do make sure you like, subscribe, and share these episodes, okay? Spread the word. Let's get some more people in here from week to week to hear all these amazing stories. Don't forget, there's also now a donate button below. If you want to donate, it goes directly to me in my show. Greatly appreciated. If not, I'm just happy you guys are here with me. That's really what it's all about. Please do make sure you guys are following me on my social media accounts so that you can see who's going to be on the show every single week. I post it on there so you guys know who's coming up each week. But I have two pages. One, of course, No Punches Pulled with No Mercy. And then I have my other page, which is Brooke No Mercy Dierdorff #Millbrook. which is my boxing page. But I post it on all of them. But that's across all platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Follow me on all of them. But again, thanks, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for tuning in with me tonight on another episode of No Punches Pulled with No Mercy. I will see you again, same place, same time next Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with the next episode of No Punches Pulled with No Mercy. Until then, remember, punch hard, because nothing else matters. Good night, y'all.